Bom dia.
Bonjour.
Welkom.
안녕. Willkommen.
欢迎 Bienvenidos.
What was that?
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Solid Ground.
Hey y'all, welcome to Solid Ground. What's up y'all? Welcome to Solid Ground.
Where we meet up once a week to learn about God's Word and encourage one another.
To learn about God's Word and encouraging one another.
And where you are always welcome to join and express yourself and feel like you're part of a family.
Be a part of the big family.
And feel like you're part of the family.
And feel like you're a part of a giant family. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. And don't forget to mask up and stay safe.
Okay, welcome back everyone. Last week, Brandon got us started on the divine romance. As I recall from my viewing remotely through the internet of Brandon, I didn't get to be here. Brandon got us started on the thought of romance, so the thought of God's romance with man in the Bible, which, do you remember where that shows up, that first shows up? Anyone who is Bianca?
I can't read that all. Genesis.
It's on your sheet too.
It's Genesis.
Where at in Genesis?
Love. 1.
Boom, all the way in chapter 1. Yeah, 127. So you see, God makes humans specifically as male and female. So in God's making of man, there was the insinuation. And remember, God made cows according to their kind, right? Or cattle, you know, the word basically means like cow-like things. You know, he made beasts, you know, kind of lion-like things according to their kind. What kind did God make man according to? We've talked about this previously. His kind. In his own image and likeness. And so God made man according to his kind. And then specifically he made man male and female. And then goes on to say it's not good for man to be alone. So whatever he says about man has some implication about God. Because man is made according, you could say, according to God's kind. And so God doesn't want to be alone. And Brandon dug into how the whole Old Testament actually shows that picture. God's desire is consistently, God's desire was actually with all of humanity. He intended that all of humanity would participate in this romance. But all of humanity fell away, and eventually he had to call Abraham out and in essence begin a new line of humanity through Abraham. And then sadly, even among Israel, you know, the children of Abraham, the children of Jacob who became Israel, he had, you know, all of them fell away, you know, when they worshiped the golden cow, except for the few who stood with Moses when he came down from the mountain. And they were the ones who became the priests. So you realize that the family who inherited the right to be the Jewish priests, what they inherited was intended for all of humanity. That was the intended birthright of every man and woman on earth. But because man constantly fell, God had to preserve a remnant of a remnant of a remnant who could carry out that function. So this intention goes all the way back. And then you see in chapter 2 of Genesis here where Adam's response when God makes him a wife, which I like that. So God created, it says that God created Adam. And the word is best translated created, but it's not the same word when God made Eve. The best translation of the word, like the verb that results in Eve, is God built him a wife. God created Adam. He made Adam out of dust and breathed life into him. But then God took a rib out of Adam and built, it intentionally says built, not created, a wife, Eve. Which, fast forward to the New Testament, Christ literally says, I will build my church. Anyway, from the very beginning, these these details are explicit. They're there, and the thought develops continuously. But what I really wanted to zoom into, I think Paul captures so well in Ephesians 5. Does anyone have a Bible with them? I don't actually see one. Oh, wow, our foundation of our phone we're recording is the Bible. Wow. Yes, Dustin, you're right. Okay, so I was going to go with 5:22 through 33. The Amplified is quite verbose. So. Oh, is it an interlinear? Yeah.
Please hold on.
Go, Phoebe.
Okay,
Saving the day.
5,
22 through 33.
Got it. 22 through 33.
If you can't hear her on the audio, she's reading those verses from her Bible.
Okay, Ephesians 5:22.
Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord.
Thank you, Phoebe.
For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its Savior.
But even as the church is subject to Christ, so also the wives to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself up on its behalf, that he might sanctify it, cleansing it by the washing of the water and the word, that he might present it to himself as a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it be holy and without blemish. So husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He, loving his wife, loves himself. For then no one hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, even as also the Lord the church. For we are members of his body. We are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this a man shall leave his father and mother, and shall be joined to his wife, and the two shall be one flesh. The mystery is great, but I speak as to Christ and as to the church. However, you also, everyone, let each love his wife as himself, and the wife as she fears the husband.
Okay, so this is really easy to read as a moral injunction of how to be a proper married couple. And if you take it that way, you've got like the minimum 1% of understanding of what this is about. Like, congratulations, you basically missed it. It's not about how to be, Paul's emphasis here and his thought is not about how to be a societally appropriate man and woman. Because there essentially is no society where the typical marriage looks like this. Because fallen humanity, and I'll kind of explain why. Fallen humanity, spoiler, cannot be this way, the way that he's talking about. A lot of very wrongly focused men throughout history have focused on wives, submit to your husbands, and they like to take that totally out of context. But then he very immediately says far more about, I think wives get a couple of lines, submit to your husbands, honor your husbands. But then Paul turns around and says to the husbands, love your wife. And how do you love your wife? Love your wife by giving up your life for her as Christ gave up his life for the church. And one of the shallowest understandings of Christ's sacrifice that I've heard was an author who, I don't remember who it was, and it doesn't matter. Their claim was, oh, sure, it's easy to die for somebody, but how hard it is to live for someone. And they were comparing being a mom to their child and how far superior that was to, oh, Jesus died for you. It was such a shallow understanding of what's in the word, because what that author didn't seem to comprehend was that, yes, Jesus died for humanity. That was one event. She was comparing, oh, he went through one event whereas I'm having to go through a perpetual sequence of moments. Yes, Christ did go through something that was one horrific, unimaginable event. But then when he rose from the dead, he wasn't just like, okay, done, now I'm back to doing whatever I wanted to do now that that's done. When he died, and what's amazing about this picture is that God had become a man and had the right as that man to do anything he wanted to do. Like, he made this universe, he has all rights to it.